Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today I'm going to be talking about a brand new game which was just announced yesterday in a live stream by Slitherine and Matrix Games. And based off the image here, it's pretty clear that this is going to be a game that's looking at Rome, so I'll just kind of jump in and kind of talk about it. What do we know so far? Well, the new game that's being announced is called Field of Glory Empires. It's going to be coming in 2019. It's going to be developed by AGEod, which are the developers of games like Civil War II, Birth of America, and World War I, some World War I games called To End All Wars, as well as games like Revolutions Under Siege. They have a wide range of games that they've developed over the years, including Pride of Nations as well. So a pretty prolific developer, but they haven't really had a lot out lately, and it does appear that that's because they're probably in the process of working on this game, which they've said is based on a brand new game engine. So honestly, when I heard that AGEod was going to be the developer, I was a little bit, not terribly impressed. Not because I have anything against them. I enjoyed To End All Wars, and I really liked the Birth of America games. But with that being said, the system was kind of long in the tooth. Load times were low. The sort of intuitiveness of the game was not very easy to approach from someone who's not interested in reading, 100-page plus of manuals or tutorials or whatnot. So I was a little bit thrown off there, but the game is actually being developed with a brand new game engine. I believe it's called the Archon engine, and that is something that I guess Matrix and Slitherine are developing in-house and has been in the works for over 3 years. So that's something that's exciting. And the game doesn't look like the old AGEod games. Again, this is what they've shown so far are screenshots, and then they showed a very limited selection of gameplay in this live stream announcement that was aired on their Twitch channel just yesterday. I'll link it in the description if you want to go check out the full thing. But it doesn't look, as far as I can tell, it doesn't look like an AGEod game. It looks very different. It looks more modern. User interface looks more approachable. So to me, that's a very positive sign. The game is going to be a grand strategy game covering the period from 310 BC to 190 AD. So a very large period of time. That's, 500 years? My understanding is the turns will be 2-year turns, so it'll be a 250-turn grand strategy game that takes place on a map primarily of Europe. I think it kind of blends a little bit into the Middle East. You've got probably just shy of getting to India based on the map, but you've got Persia in there, or the Seleucids. You've got Syria, you've got North Africa, and then you've got kind of Europe. Europe does cut off a little bit before you get to Russia. It looks like the map kind of goes as far east as Poland, and then kind of down on an angle into like parts of Ukraine, and then like maybe the Caucasus Mountains. But it doesn't go like full on into the Russian steppes. It also covers Ireland and England. It is a map that has over 1,000 provinces, so it's a massive map. And this period of time kind of covers an interesting swath of time from sort of before Rome is the preeminent power all the way down to the end of PAX Romana. So if you think about the 310 era, it's basically right after Alexander the Great has died, a couple of 13 years or so after Alexander the Great has died. Rome is still more or less a powerful regional city-state that's trying to vie for control of the Italian peninsula. Carthage is an up-and-coming power embroiled in a war. There really is no one Western European power, and in the East you've got the successor states of Alexander the Great all fighting against each other, so some of them are very large empires, but they've also got a lot of challenges that they're dealing with. The game is a grand strategy game. It is not, specifically speaking, focused on tactical combat. That might throw you a little bit with the title, so you may be aware, but Field of Glory is a sort of almost like a board game, tabletop game to PC conversion that looks at tactical battles during this same time period and does a very good job of it. It has some very interesting and unique challenges. I've talked about it on the channel before, and it's a pretty good tactical battle system. Field of Glory Empires is very different. One, it's developed by a different company. Field of Glory 2, which was the last game that came out, was developed by Byzantine Games. Field of Glory Empires is being developed by AGEod. Empires will have tactical battles, but based on the stream anyway, those are being described as kind of view only. So in many ways, to me, this feels kind of like a direct competitor to the upcoming Paradox game called Imperator, which is basically, if you think about Paradox, it's taking sort of the CK model, Crusader Kings model, the Europea Universalis model, obviously and undoubtedly making some big changes, but bringing that sort of a model to Europe, to Rome. And when you think about those Paradox games, those are grand strategy games. They're about managing personalities. They're about managing resources. They're about managing sort of your rise to power, your expansion. Military is a big piece of it, but they've never featured tactical battles. Like, you don't actually go into a map, watch a battle resolve, or issue orders. It's not a Rome Total War. It's a much more detailed grand strategy game on the sort of the campaign map than anything that Rome or the Total War series has, but it doesn't bring you into that combat layer. Empire, or as they're calling it, but Field of Glory Empires, is going to be similar in that the focus is really going to be in the grand strategy element. Obviously, you need to build armies and conquer territories and expand, but you don't order tactical maneuvers. What I will say is they did say that you will be able to, and they did show that you'll be able to view the battles. So it's kind of, I don't know if any of you have played their game Legion, which came out like 10 plus years ago. But Legion was this Roman game that basically put you in charge of Rome around the same time period. It was a very kind of a light game, so a little bit not, I don't think, the same direction this is going. AGEod is known for their kind of more grognard games, very detailed, very deep, very, sort of complex games. Legion was an iPad game as well as a computer game. It was pretty basic, pretty simple. You approached it. But one of the things you did in that is, I can't remember if you gave like basic orders to your general, but essentially when your armies met, there were a couple of things you could do at the start of the battle, but then you just kind of watched your orders unfold. So like you might be aggressive, you might flank, whatever. Your units you'd then be taken to a resolution screen, which would show the battle progress, but you didn't really have any control over it. So you were watching the outcome of your handiwork. And it sounds like this will be something similar, where the battle results are occurring on a screen in front of you. Now, the look and feel of the battles is very much Field of Glory-esque, so that's kind of making some sense with the title. The other really cool feature that they mentioned that I think has potential to set this game apart, because honestly, I think they're going to struggle if this game is coming out next year, if Imperator is coming out next year. I think Matrix and Slitherine are going to struggle to stand out from Imperator, just because Paradox brings to the table a caveat, a resume of these types of games, these deep strategy games that look at sort of the empire management more than they do tactical battles. I would say Matrix is more well known for games that bring you to the actual battlefield. Not in the same level of fidelity as Total War, but they tend to be more focused on the battlefield, as Field of Glory has shown in the past. But I think if you look at Field of Glory Empires, where it has a potential to maybe get a leg up over something like Imperator, is, one, I don't want to sell the campaign short. For all we know, it'll be very good. We just don't know yet. But one thing that I think is really encouraging and exciting about the game is that they have announced that the game will have a ability to export your tactical battles that are going to occur in Field of Glory's Empires to Field of Glory 2. So essentially, if I've got two armies marching around in Italy and they meet and they're going to fight a battle, instead of allowing the game to show me the auto-resolve, which is essentially what these battles will end up being, potentially with a few minor, going into the battle options, if I don't want that resolve, if I want to actually fight the battle as a general on the field, then I can export that battle to Field of Glory 2. I can play that battle in Field of Glory 2, and then export the result into the game. So essentially, there's an extension, a connector between Field of Glory 2 and Field of Glory's Empires that allows you to turn this into more of like a Total War experience. Granted, it's all turn-based, it's not real-time, but it allows you to turn it basically into Total War, where I can build my empire on this very detailed, big, grand strategy game. I can fight my battles of Field of Glory 2, and then I can, continue on with my empire building. Part of me kind of wonders, if you were going to go through all that effort, why didn't you just bring the Field of Glory 2 battle engine into Field of Glory's Empires? and just give an auto-resolve option. But I also understand if they're trying to go for this sort of empire, you are the consul, you are the king, you are the empire of whatever country you're leading, then we don't necessarily want you to be the general, right? Like that's not the design focus. The design focus is not you being a tactical general. The design focus is you being the emperor. And frankly, most of the emperors never would take the field, or if they did, they wouldn't be the ones issuing orders to the soldiers, at least not till later in the Roman period. They were supposed to be these statesmen, somewhat removed. Obviously, you have figures who do lead their soldiers in combat, but Augustus wasn't leading, soldiers in combat. He had a general to do that. So I think that is the design philosophy. But I think it's interesting that they recognized a lot of their customers are going to want to fight the tactical battles, and so they enabled you to export to Field of Glory 2. Now, that does potentially require you to buy both games. But as someone who already owns it, I think that's gonna kind of be interesting, and I think there's a lot of appealing elements of Field of Glory 2, so it's something probably worth checking out if you're interested in that kind of a thing. So I think that'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. That could have, if they built that capability in natively, could have really been a differentiator between them and Imperator with that just as an export feature. Again, it'll be interesting to see how the two play out. I'm really curious to see who does a better job of the empire building. I think Imperator will probably be more in sort of the relationship management pieces that really made Europea Universalis or Crusader Kings more appealing. My hunch is that Field of Glory will be more traditional empire building and management, but we'll see. Some other interesting facts that they've mentioned: there will be over 60 playable countries in this game, with I think something like 200 sort of tribes or other smaller countries that you might interact with. So across the 1,000 provinces, 60 countries playable, something in the range of around 200 total countries. Of the 60 playable countries they've mentioned, there's like 29 that sort of have unique cultures and sort of traits. They're working on increasing that. They're not sure where that final number will lay, but at least 60 countries will be playable. They've also said the game will be highly moddable, so they made a big focus in the release stream to say this basically, as a mod, you will be able to change anything you want. You could turn this into a medieval game. You could just modify individual units. You can add new units. You can basically change anything in the game that you want to change. So I think that could be interesting. And if it's as intuitive as they're making it sound, that could really be something that people jump in on and really embrace. There will be over 450 different unit types, so a wide variety of different types of units. I think that's important in a game that's going to be spanning 500 years of history. You've got the Roman armies before the Marian reforms, you've got the Roman armies after the Marian reforms, and you've got these hundreds of countries that all need units and soldiers and things to make their fighting sound interesting. One of the other things that I think is interesting is in the actual press release, they really talk about the sort of rise and fall of empires. So it's easy for us to think of this period of time, especially the first probably 3/4 of this time period, as the period of rise, right? You've got Carthage on the rise and you've got Rome on the rise, and they're going to clash, and the winner will reign supreme. And that's how a lot of Roman games tend to focus. They don't really look at the decline and the decadence and the fall of empires. Total War Rome 2 and Rome Total War were both very much in this vein. You build your basis for your economy, you build up your military, and then you kind of go on a steamroller route as you rampage across the map and expand your empire, basically with rinse and repeat, and there you go. And it wasn't until expansions like Attila or Rome Total War Barbarian Invasion came out where Total War kind of tried to figure out, well, how do we actually model the decline of empires? Like, how do we deal with the struggle of overexpansion? Overexpansion has never been an issue for me in any of the Rome games, Rome Total War games, but in Barbarian Invasion, which is my favorite Total War game to date, and in Attila, that's kind of more of the premise, is these overexpanded and decadent empires that are no longer the most efficient things out there. And I think this game is going to try and have a little bit of that as well. So they do say that there is a where am I looking here? Oh my goodness, I'm trying to look through here. decadence. This is what they're referring to. So they say, and this is directly from their press release that they sent out to, YouTubers and other things like that. But it says, over time, empires will rise and fall as an ongoing struggle against decadence is fought. The older the empire grows, the more challenges will lurk in the shadows. The mere existence of expanding borders without carefully shaping forms of government, culture, economic growth, and social cohesion won't be the wisest of strategies. So I think that's interesting, is basically they're making the claim, and they also reiterated this in the live stream, that hey, you can expand your empire early on somewhat easily without too much complexity or challenges. But as you get bigger and bigger, the challenges of holding it all together are going to increase. And they've got this feature, this capability called decadence, which I assume is to represent, hey, you're a massive empire, you're really rich. That's going to bring things like corruption into play. That's going to bring other challenges of holding people together. You'll need to build public works buildings like coliseums and other things like that in order to kind of pacify the population and keep people in line, but that comes with its own slew of challenges, upkeep and other things like that. They've mentioned a wide range of civic buildings that have both positive impacts, but also negative impacts, and so you kind of have to balance that. They're trying to create a balance of things that will help, but also those are going to have some downsides to them as well. And as you get bigger or older or last longer, that'll be a challenge to kind of hold everything together, which I think is a really good thing to do. I mean, I think if you look at the empire and successor states of the Alexander the Great's empire, those were challenges that they faced, and especially toward the end of this time period, even Rome is starting to face these challenges, right? As the Roman Republic expands, its type of government, and they reference government types in here, so its type of government was no longer suitable to maintain control over a large empire as the Roman Republic turned into an empire. So Rome changed its government type, not so peacefully as I'm sort of blithely commenting, but Rome changed its government type to an empire, and that in some ways helped them maintain control. But even toward the end of this period, toward 190 AD, at that point, if you don't have a strong and good ruler, then things can kind of start to fall apart, as Commodus is in power at 190 AD. So all of this is coming to fruition to make a really interesting concept, and I think an interesting challenge for Matrix and Slitherine and AGEod, but I'm curious to see how it'll all play out. There is a lot of other information, so I will link the actual stream, which was on Twitch, in the description, as I've already mentioned. But yeah, I think that about conclusively kind of summarizes the upcoming game. Again, it's coming in 2019. And I think this will be really interesting. You're going to have kind of two big Roman grand strategy games coming out at the same time, between Paradox's Imperator and Matrix and Slytherine's Field of Glory. And I'm excited. I mean, I want to play both of them. I'm curious how this whole battle export will work. I'm curious what the strength of the game without the battle export will be. I have high hopes, but I guess, time will tell. These are going to probably both be games that are on my most anticipated games of 2019 list, I would imagine, as I kind of start putting that together. But overall, I'm excited to see that Rome's getting a lot of attention. I'm really happy that they're covering a little bit later period of Rome. The 300 BC, the 250 BC, that era seems to always be the era that people focus on when they're doing Roman games. My interest honestly lie in kind of the 5 Good Emperor period, which will be covered in this late period of the game. And, I think that'll be interesting to see how that can all be represented, how the government types work, how culture works. One other thing worth calling out, you don't have to conquer the map. They made that a point in the stream as well. You don't need to turn the map to your color. There are other victory conditions, economic, social, that you'll be able to kind of pursue. And perhaps, if you expand too far, maybe you don't want to continue expanding and you want to shift approaches. I guess we'll see. As I've already said, I'm not a huge AGEod fan. I've enjoyed some of their games, but that does cause me a little bit of reservation here. But the engine really does look different, or at least the graphical representation of it. So we'll see how this all plays out. Let me know your thoughts below, guys. Is this something you're excited about? Did you see the live stream? Is this news to you? What are your thoughts about another major Roman game coming out in 2019? And yeah, do you have reservations? Are you excited? let me know. I am going to go ahead and end this video here. I will have my second part of my look at Armored Brigade up tomorrow. It seemed like you guys were really excited and enjoyed sort of the first episode, so we'll carry that through to episode 2 tomorrow. But in the meantime, guys, I appreciate you all, as always, tuning in for yet another episode of the Historical Gamer reveals a new game that was already publicly revealed, but I wanted to talk about it. So we'll see how this all plays out. And I hope you guys enjoyed, but until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.